Every habit tells a story. When we look at someone smoking, it's easy to judge. But if we look closer, we find a complex tapestry of history, psychology, and philosophy resting between two fingers. A cigarette has rarely just been about the tobacco, it has been a mirror. It was a symbol of independence for women, claiming their freedom in America. It was a tool for French philosophers trying to visualize time and the soul. And on film, it became a universal shorthand for confidence and belonging. We aren't here to judge a habit nor to romanticize it. We are looking past the smoke to understand the human design behind it and our collective search for identity.
Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So I hope you got the title for today's video from the introduction. So this video is basically about how the act of smoking became associated with being cool, being artistic, being thoughtful. And before starting this video, I want to make it very clear that I'm not here to tell you that smoking is bad or smoking is good. I am here to just tell you how smoking became a trend, because I have seen thousands of trends coming and going, but this is something that never really went away, right? It just keeps changing forms, right? People find it cool, people find it masculine, people see it as an act of rebellion, people see it as being artistic, being thoughtful. Like, why? Why is the simple act of smoking associated with all of these things? Personally, I want to make it very clear that whether you smoke, whether you don't smoke, as a human, I don't see you any differently. And I'm here saying this because I want to make it very clear. Since I have experiences, like I had friends in the past who would see someone at a far distance that they don't even know smoking, and they would take like 5 seconds to judge them, saying that they are so spoiled and they are ruining their life and they are a bad person. And I would just look at my friends at that time and think that, God, I hope they never have to understand the distress, the stress, the circumstances that would lead someone to that edge where they start the act of smoking. I know they don't understand it, and I really hope that they never have to understand it. You know, people calling someone bad because they smoke, I wish it was that simple. That smoking, it's that simple. Pick up a cigarette, light it, smoke it. But you as an outsider would never understand the thousand circumstances, thousand things, thousand events surrounding that particular action. Leading a person to that action, leading a person to that edge. To give something that power, that much power. Also in this video, like most of my other videos, I will be taking up examples and case studies from different parts of the world. So this video is not specifically about Hollywood or specifically about Europe or specifically about Asia or Africa, anywhere in the world. I will be taking up pieces from here and there and combining them all together because I love doing that. So this is basically a global case study. It is not about one specific area. Okay, so let's begin with Europe. So basically, after World War II in Europe, smoking was not just about the nicotine craving. Yes, a huge part of it was nicotine craving, but it was not only about that. Okay. Like I said, I used that term, act of smoking. Now, that act of smoking was basically a performance of the mind. So like every place in the world has taken up smoking and made it a metaphor. Basically, metaphor is like symbolizing something with it, right? So they have picked up smoking, the act of smoking, and they have tried to symbolize something or the other with it. The Americans, a lot of them in the movies and series, novels, they smoked. They showed this act of smoking as relating to rebellion. Okay. For example, we can take James Dean, right? So Belmondo. But the people of Europe, and I don't know if it was mainly France, but I know about France. So these people smoked to look like they were solving the mysteries of the universe. Okay, so for example, there's a movie going on, and you have to show a character who is sitting in a cafe and he's thinking about life, about universe, the meaning of life and everything. How do you show it? How do you show the audience that that person is like thinking about something so complex? Of course, there are brilliant actors who can show it with like verbal expressions, but that's not enough, right?
¿Dónde se había metido usted? Lleva 2 horas esperándole. Lo siento, Vic.
Now came in picture the existentialist. Existentialism is basically a theory, it is a philosophy which suggests that there is no meaning to life. Okay, like a lot of people say that we come into this world and we have to find the purpose and to like live our purpose. There's this destiny. We have some predetermined purposes, some morals that we have to like follow in this life. We have to complete in this life. They don't believe in any of this. They say that we come into this life empty with no meaning whatsoever. There is nothing predetermined. There is no meaning to it. It is just a void. Life is just a void, and like to make it meaningful so that we don't go crazy, we find purpose, okay? We create some stuff, we make it our purpose, we run after it so that we don't go crazy by sitting empty. Because if everyone goes ahead and believes that this life has no purpose whatsoever, we'll all go crazy, right? Our human brain cannot be empty for so long because it's been centuries since we have been trained that you gotta work, you gotta run after this, you gotta run after that. So if we all sit down, we'll actually go crazy. And you guys actually saw what happened during COVID. The mental health of people was going down the drain, and I can say it from my personal experience. I went crazy during COVID because I was locked in my house with nothing to do. So basically, we cannot stay empty. We cannot just sit down and believe that there's no purpose of this life. There's like nothing. I'm just here to like complete my days and just go. That's it. Basically, but this is what the existentialists believe. Now there is an existentialist, very famous one, Jean Paul Sartre.
La pensée particulière, la politique particulière des bourgeois au nom de l'universel. Telle est la conception classique de l'intellectuel. Il est donc très content d'avoir une conscience malheureuse. Il est heureux d'avoir une conscience malheureuse parce que c'est elle qui lui permet de dénoncer. Et l'intellectuel se trouve donc, l'intellectuel classique, un grand dénonciateur.
So now there was this massive book by, like I told you, existentialist Jean Paul Sartre. Now he basically argued that this process of smoking makes the internal act of thinking external. Okay, so when we are really happy from the inside, how do we show it? We jump, we smile, we laugh, right? When we're sad, we cry. When we're angry, we throw stuff, we break stuff. But when you're thinking, how do you externalize that? Thinking is an internal process. How do you externalize it? So, Jean Paul Sartre said, it's so simple, you externalize it by smoking. If a person is smoking, it means he's thinking. I have seen like hundreds and thousands of movies where there's this artist who is smoking and smoking and smoking and smoking and smoking. Who is like writing and smoking. Basically, when they're smoking, they're thinking. They are externalizing their process of thinking. That's what it shows. I know they're literally not doing it, but like that's what it represents in Europe. And also there is like a very poetic way of saying this, that like when you burn a cigarette, you're actually seeing the time pass. So a cigarette is a countdown. Like it has, oh my god, the smoking cigarette has so many meanings, and one of them being that when you're smoking, you're literally seeing the time turn into ashes. You are literally seeing the minutes of your life turn into ash. And for an intellect who is going crazy with their thoughts, who are so heavy with their intellect, with their thoughts, with this finding the meaning of life and stuff, that it's just a gentle reminder that your time is limited. We are all just moving towards the end. I don't want to sound cynical, but yeah, that is what's true. And we can differentiate it a lot because in the US, which I will be talking about a lot in my next sections, so It's kind of shown as like a tough guy, but in Europe, cigarette is treated as a symbol of thinking very deeply, and it is kind of used as a pause before a person says something really deep, really crazy. It's basically a beat of silence before delivering a very profound statement. Now there's this French movie which is called The Breathless. This movie is directed by Jean-Luc Godard, and in this movie we can see how much smoking, the act of smoking, is romanticized. By the way, it is used massively. In more than half of the movie, we can see Jean Paul with a cigarette dangling from his lips. And he's looking brilliant and he's looking bold. That's just what it represents.
Après tout ci, il faut... Oh!
And there's this quote by Oscar Wilde, and he says that cigarette is the perfect type of a perfect pleasure. It is exquisite and it leaves one unsatisfied. What more can one want? Do you see how much they have romanticized a cigarette? Smoking? We do so many things every day. We walk, we run, we work out, we cook. Nothing is romanticized this much. Okay, so now let's move to the US, and this I will explain it to you in the form of a story. And it's basically called the Torches of Freedom. There was a person, Edward, and very important detail is that he's the nephew of Sigmund Freud, and he is very. I don't know if you guys know about it, but I have heard read a lot about Sigmund Freud since I'm a psychology student, and I was also a psychology student in school. So he is the nephew of Sigmund Freud. Now this guy, Edward Bernays, like a genius, successfully rebranded cigarettes from a social taboo for women into a powerful tool of political liberation and gender equality.
And let me say in parenthesis that cigarettes at that time were not regarded as dangerous to your health because that had not been found out yet. In fact, they were regarded as symbols of manhood. Little boys smoked them to prove that they were older than they were. And they were regarded as symbols of importance in the society, giving pleasure and so on.
And I don't know about other countries, but where I live in South Asia, smoking by men is widely acceptable in the society, but smoking by women is not. Till today, it is not. If you see a woman smoking anywhere, you still get the looks, you still get the judgment, although it is widely acceptable for men to smoke. And if it's still like this in the history, you can just imagine how much worse it was, right? So, in the US, again, it was a social taboo for women to smoke, not for men. Wow. Anyway, so, but the thing is, you see, if women are not smoking, the tobacco companies are missing out on more than half the population, right? That is not good for the business. So, like I have talked in my previous videos also, in the old times, marketing was very functional, right? They would just tell you that these are the ingredients of the product and this is what it's good for, this product will help you in doing this, and this product is good, and yeah, that's it. Like, they would tell you the advantages, they would tell you the ingredient, they will tell you how it's useful, how it's better than the other products. So marketing was very functional, right? They were not there playing with your emotions or symbolizing it, making something the symbol of something, picking up something and making it the symbol of unity and equality and whatever. But this guy, he actually moved away from marketing being functional. He picked up a cigarette and targeted it straight to the subconscious, to the emotions of the people. So how it started was that this guy, George Washington Hill, who was the president of the American Tobacco Company, he realized that because of this crazy taboo that women cannot smoke and women cannot do this and that, whatever, he is losing out on more than half of the population, like I just said. So, because like smoking was considered unfeminine, even today it's considered unfeminine, right? You would still hear a lot of people saying, I'm not into women who smoke, they are girls or boys, only men smoke, women should not smoke. And it was so scandalous for women to smoke in public. It is still scandalous today, so you can imagine it was a lot worse at that time. Now, this guy, Barney, he goes to a psychoanalyst and asks him that this is the problem that we are facing. So, like, how can we resolve it? And the psychoanalyst told him that, you know what? A cigarette represents a man-like power for women. Women look up to it because it's something that they think only men are allowed to do. They want to do it, but only men are allowed. Women are not allowed. So this represents a man-like power for women. So now they came up with this idea to take a cigarette and market it as a symbolic shift. Now, how did they do it? Because unlike today, there was no social media. They could not just simply use a hashtag. They could not just simply like go live and tell us about it or just go trending on X. So there was a parade of 1929 Easter in New York, and Barney, he hired a group of people to march and light cigarettes. He took a group of women. He appointed a group of women to march, to take part in the march and consciously light the Lucky Strike cigarettes.
New York held an Easter Day parade to which thousands came, and Bernays decided to stage an event there. He persuaded a group of rich debutantes to hide cigarettes under their clothes. Then they should join the parade, and at a given signal from him, they were to light up the cigarettes dramatically. Bernays then informed the press that he had heard that a group of suffragettes were preparing to protest by lighting up what they called torches of freedom.
He knew this would be an outcry, and he knew that all of the photographers would be there to cap.
And he told the press in advance because he did not want that people look at it like an advertisement for the city. He did not want it to be an advertisement, right? Advertisements were anyways going on, then how is it a symbolic shift? He wanted to present it like a protest for women, for women's rights, and to like frame it in the form of a protest and not just an advertisement. What he did was that he did not just book a billboard, right? Anyone could do that. He literally from the scratch manufactured a news event, a historical event.
Quickly, cigarettes are torches of freedom to women. They want to smoke to dramatize man's taboo against women by not permitting them to smoke. And that's why they want to smoke. And then he added as an afterthought, and they titillate the erogenous zones of the lips.
Being a media student, I have to tell you that this is actually the third party technique. Like today we have ambassadors. It's kind of like that, where it's like similar to that. Like you take up like seemingly independent figures like feminists to endorse a product so that the public doesn't realize that they are being sold a product, right? They think that this product is being used by this person and we admire this person, so let's use this product, right? They don't realize that that person is being paid to like show that they're using the product. Today the audience is very advanced. We know all these techniques. We know that there are paid partnerships and there are ambassadors and whatnot, but at that time it was not that common. So we used the third party technique to promote the cigarette.
And it occurred to me that any young debutante who was aware of the times and of herself as a woman being discriminated against would be delighted to walk in the Easter parade with her beau to dramatize the idea that cigarettes were indeed torches of freedom and to validate and to invalidate the taboo against women smoking. And I also instructed them on how to give information about what they did to the newsreels, weekly newsreels, to the newspapers, to the 3 important press associations.
Now the result was very good. It was a successful campaign because after this, he basically tied smoking to the suffrage movement of the women. Bernays made it socially cool and politically rebellious. And after this, the percentage of cigarettes being bought by women rose from 5% to 12%, and eventually a 33% by women. And today it's a lot more, obviously, but at that time it was a big deal to reach a 33%. And at that time they were obviously using it as a part of the protest. So there was this very famous quote which said that women light another torch of freedom, fight another sex taboo. This is so cool that You are taking a product, you are saying that why are only men allowed to use it? And you are using men as an instrument, the power that men used to hold in the society at that time. You're using that power to like market your product. It is so crazy to just pick up a product and make it a part of a movement. Wow. Jeez. So now I want to take the campaign of the Marlboro man to take this topic forward. Basically, there were two types of cigarettes earlier. One is filtered and the other is unfiltered, right? So the thing is, filtered cigarettes were considered very feminine, and Marlboro used to make filtered cigarettes for women, and basically used to advertise it mainly to women by saying it's mine as me. So they were considered really feminine cigarettes. But slowly, the unfiltered cigarettes, which were considered more manly, no, but off topic, but it's so crazy how when finally women started smoking, they then differentiated the product into men and oh god. First it was only men, now there are women, so let's just differentiate the product. There is just no universe in which men and women can use the same product. Oh my god. Oh. Anyways, so there came a point when the unfiltered cigarettes came to be associated with lung cancer. So now men, obviously, they also wanted to smoke, but they were afraid of lung cancer. So they also wanted filtered cigarettes, but they did not want to look feminine. Obviously, make it sympathetic. Anyway, but they didn't want to look too feminine. So now Marlboro launched this new campaign where they took a cowboy. And cowboy is the ultimate representation of a man, right? I mean, he's the ultimate symbol of independence, of hard work, and the American spirit. So, like the man used in that campaign, he also had like 4 tattoos. And it was basically Marlboro country where they showed a countryside and they showed a cowboy. Basically freedom, right?
You don't see many wild stallions anymore. Come to where the flavor is. Come to Marlboro country.
So whenever we see any movies or series, we always show that the cities, the urban life, it's kind of a cage. It's all hustle culture. It's very fast. It's basically a cage. And when we show the countryside, we show it as a symbol of freedom, right? Slow life, slow living, mental peace, freedom ultimately. So that's what the campaign was basically based on, and Marlboro was basically selling freedom, and it chose a man in the campaign, so now the filtered cigarettes came to be associated with man as well, and they were like less ashamed to buy the filtered cigarettes.
Marlboro country is everywhere, anywhere in the land, from east to west, north to south, from the lakes to the Rio Grande.
So it worked in the US like that, but it also worked globally because other people, they did not really care that much about the countryside. Like people in the Asia, they did not really care that much about the countryside, but for them, Marlboro man, it represented the West, right? It just represented the West, and that's why they started buying it. That people in the West are doing it, so we should also do it, yeah. So Marlboro basically showed that it's not about smoking a cigarette, it's about being cool. It's about not being boring. It's about running away from the 9 to 5. And honestly, in other parts of the world also, where they did not understand English, and they did not really care that much about the countryside, they were mostly influenced by the West using it, but also, like in Asia, they were, the language that Marlboro campaign used, the cowboy, the countryside, it's a universal language, right? Even if it did not affect the people that much, it did affect them. And it's a universal language. It shows the freedom from authority, and people understood that. Yes, they were influenced by the fact that it was from the West, but they were also influenced by the universal language that they could easily comprehend. That the cowboy is an international symbol of freedom. The one person who does not have a boss. There's this movie, The Mirror Has Two Faces. It's a very popular movie, and it has a very famous monologue which explains why the Marlboro man was so effective in selling people a dream.
Speaking of manipulation, it's like going to the movies and we see the lovers on screen kiss and the music swells and we buy it, right? Now, the question is, why do we buy it? We buy it because whether it's a myth or a manipulation, let's face it, we all want to fall in love, right?
So now I'll take two characters. One, I'll take Thomas Shelby from Peaky. And I'm taking him because I have seen a lot of my friends being influenced by smoking. Like, they would come and tell me that I'm so influenced by him and he smokes a lot, I want to try it, and I want this and that, so I'm taking him. And the other character that I'm taking is Michel from the movie Breathless that I just mentioned. Thomas Shelby basically represents the American British industrial style. For him, smoking is like externalizing his trauma and his power. And he basically smokes to calm his nerves, to like keep his PTSD away from him, and to kind of like dominate it all, so that it looks like that he has a lot of power, he looks dominating, so like to dominate it all. And you will see that his smoking is very purposeful, like it's used as an instrument. Okay, he generally uses a cigarette to like punctuate a threat or a deal. So smoking is basically very aggressive, it's sharp, and like I said, it's very purposeful. He uses the cigarette as an instrument. It is about survival in a cold and physical world.
I sound like you. Since I settled. I decided to make it part of our deal. How many are here? 11.
On the other hand, if you look at Michel from the Breathless, where we are showing the French intellectual aesthetic, he is literally the blueprint. This character is literally the blueprint of European cool. And you will see that Michel doesn't smoke because he's stressed because of a deal or he's giving someone threats. No, he smokes because he's just bored of his existence. For him, he's not using his cigarettes as an instrument to like punctuate something, to dominate something. No, he's just smoking because he's bored of his existence. That's it. No other reason. And it's very performative because the cigarette is just hanging from his mouth while he stares into the space. And it might look like it has no purpose and just so stupid, and they just want to like look cool by showing it, and they just want to show that all the Europeans smoke and shit. No. They are actually showing the void by making him just keep the cigarette head, not putting too much emphasis on the cigarette itself. They are showing a void. It is basically the philosopher's pause. Like I just said, he's externalizing his thoughts. He's thinking. How does he externalize it? How does he show you that he's thinking? He's showing you that he's thinking like crazy and he's thinking very deeply, too much. With the help of his smoking, he's externalizing his thoughts, his thinking through smoking. That's the point, that's the difference. It signals that he's a thinker who finds the world absurd and he's just simply passing time until the end. Kinda similar to the existentialist theory, not exactly same, but similar, some parts of it. You can see that while Thomas Shelby on one hand, he makes smoking look like an ambition. The French intellectual, they make smoking look like meditation. So one is about, conquering the world, I'll do this, I'll do that. Other is about realizing that the world cannot be conquered. So you might as well just enjoy the smoke. And all of this honestly also shows us how just a single thing, they're both doing the same thing. Just at different places, they're both lighting a cigarette and smoking it, right? But it's about how they are doing it, it's about where they are doing it, it's about what they are doing after it, what they are doing before it, what they are doing with it. He is there punctuating his sentences with, Thomas Shelby's there lighting a cigarette and screaming at people. And Michel is there smoking and sitting and talking about death. Act is same. It's just the circumstances, the situations that make it completely different. The smoking here represents something totally different, and the smoking there represents something totally different. It's all about the place, it's all about the situation, it's all about the person. That's it, It's so crazy to think how the same act can be interpreted, can be shown in so many different ways. Oh my god. Also, I want to elaborate on the part where I said that a lot of my friends were influenced by Thomas Shelby and they kind of wanted to start smoking or like try it at least because they were really influenced by his character. So here comes the psychological concept of mirroring. So basically, biologically, the humans are hardwired to fit in. Okay, growing up, living in certain societies, we like come to accept the fact that okay, I don't fit in, I'll not hang out with these people or those people. But naturally, if we like not go against the nature and like don't convince ourselves, then we are naturally hardwired to like fit in. In the early history, being an outcast meant death. Thankfully, that's not the same, but still, it's about getting bullied, it's about being called names, it's about so many things. Not death, but yeah, it still prevails. And to avoid this, our brains actually develop a chameleon instinct. So we naturally start mirroring those people who we see are higher in status than us, which can be anyone we admire, any celebrity, any political leader, whoever. Because and it's not even about that. It can be any friend that you think is high in status. It can be any person even around you, because we think that if we act like them, then we will, get their acknowledgement, we will get their acceptance, and we will get their protection. Now, there is a thing which is called the parasocial transference. So it's honestly never about the product. It's always about the vibe. Like I have been telling you the entire video, it's not the cigarettes, it's the vibe. And parasocial transference is basically when we borrow traits from people that we don't really know. Like you're watching the TikTok of a celebrity and they have the screen put in the background and you think that, oh my god, they're using it, I'll also use it. You don't know them. You don't know if they're using it. You don't know if it's even their product or someone else bought it and it's just kept there, but you get influenced. That's what parasocial transference is. So when that Marlboro man looks independent, you're trying to buy those cigarettes to transfer that independence into your own life. You are not really buying tobacco or cigarettes, nothing. You are just buying that feeling of independence. Because a lot of times we copy people when we don't even want to. You might have seen when you spend a lot of time with someone, you start picking up their vocabulary, you start picking up their expressions. We do it subconsciously because of the mirror neurons. That we don't actually know what we want. We just want what other people want. And that is like so true, I cannot agree more. This is how the entire earth is working right now, seriously. If you look at the movie Drive that came in 2011, it has Ryan Gosling in it, and you will see the influence it had. So many people started wearing satin jackets or started acting more stoic after it.
Come on, man.
This is the kind of influence that characters have, and I always talk about it in all my videos, and this is the major reason why I always incorporate series and movies and media in my videos, because they rarely influence the society a lot. Again, that theory comes. Media influences society and society influences media. It's a loop. It's a two-way arrow. You want to conclude the entire topic, mirroring is the oil, okay? That makes social interactions go smoothly. And when two people mirror each other, they enter a flow state where they start trusting each other more. Like the cinema simply hijacks this natural trust to sell us an image. That's it. In my country, it is still a big, big taboo for women to smoke. So I cannot even begin to think what kind of a taboo it would have been at that time if it is still so prevalent after so many years. I can personally never go ahead and judge someone because of the smoking, because like I said, I don't know their stress level, I don't know their distress, I don't know what they're thinking, how deep they are thinking, and people think it's so shallow, like it's just about picking up a cigarette, lighting it, and ruining your health. You know you would die and you're still doing it. Do these people ever sit and think what a person must go through if they're ready to harm themselves? How a person must feel if they're gladly ready to light something, count the minutes of your life passing. How can you sit and judge someone for harming themselves? Do you know how much guts it would take? In the psychology class, our teacher asked us to give us our opinion on certain statements. It was about people who smoke are weak. And the girl next to me, she said, "Yeah, I agree with this statement. You're so weak. You cannot even control yourself. You think the act of smoking is for the weak? You think a person reaching the point of distress, of stress, of thought, whatever, a person reaching that edge and still surviving is weak? Yeah, they take help of the cigarette, but they survive. Anything done for survival can never be good. It can never be bad. It can never be. Yeah, it ruins the quality of life in the long run. What about now? I don't know, I can just never not be neutral about smoking. I could never see it as something good or something bad. I come from a kind of school where I have seen my fellows smoking by the school hours. It's not idle, it's not a good thing. But what were they supposed to do? They had to survive in that toxicity 6 to 8 hours a day. At least they survived, right? At least they made out of their life. I don't know why you, as a society, we see a person smoking and we judge them. We see a woman smoking and we judge her. Why don't we ever try to understand them? Why is our first thought on seeing the cigarette about the person who is holding it and not about their situation? Artists smoke a lot, like it's shown in Europe. Because their thoughts are so heavy. They are so heavy. If you keep it all inside, they'll go crazy. That's why they externalize. Artists smoke because it's too heavy inside. People smoke, in general people smoke because it's too heavy inside. The voices inside are too heavy. The 9 to 5 is too heavy. This urban life is too heavy. This non-freedom is so heavy. If they keep it all inside, they'll go crazy. They externalize it. Maybe they are. But yeah, this is it for this video. I will see you all in the next one. Bye bye.